On behalf of the Fountain Valley Chamber of Commerce, welcome today. The Fountain Valley Chamber saw the need to sit down, break some bread together, and start a conversation. We have about 3,000 business licenses in Fountain Valley. Our chamber has well over 200 members, and we're growing by some 10 new members these past recent months. Why Fountain Valley? Why the Fountain Valley Chamber? In 2025, the population of this community is 54,500 people. The average household income is $141,500. The median age in Fountain Valley is 43.7 years. 41.2 years for the men, and I'm sorry, but 46.1 years for the women. Why is that? About 40% of this population in our community is Asian American. We are the focal point of why we gather today, to just simply start a conversation about how to better get along, do more business together with each of us, and for each of us to aspire to help the community grow. We have gathered here today the Vietnamese Chamber of Commerce, the Afghan Chamber of Commerce, the Turkish community, the Hispanic community, African American community, because we all have one thing in common. We're all businessmen and women believing that we're better when we're all working together. I'm going to remind you about your 3x5 cards. Please try your best to fill that out and give them to your table monitor. And then there's a series of questions at your table that during the next hour, if you could talk about and try to answer those questions. So ladies and gentlemen, this doesn't happen because any one person has an idea. It happens because a team comes together. We couldn't have done and have the success we're having today without Dr. Van Vu, who's the co-chair of this event and who has been instrumental in gathering each and every one of you. Along with Dr. Vu is another friend of everybody in the room, and that's David Trunk, the owner of Mimi's Jewelers. David? This is a room full of what I call influencers, and that's why you were invited as the guest of the Fountain Valley Chamber of Commerce. I'm not sure how many answers we'll come up with today, but we know the issues. We just need to get along more, learn how to do business with each other. There are some simple solutions and some more complicated ones. Without further ado, it's my great pleasure to introduce to you the chairperson of the Fountain Valley Chamber of Commerce, a dear friend and an extremely proficient professional, Ms. Debbie Keeley.
Well, good afternoon again. Hello, hola, king chao, mahaba, and kumusta. Those were the languages I felt I could cover. So I'm trying to say hello to all of you in your native tongue. I have served on the board for 7 years for the Fountain Valley Chamber. It has been a pleasure. I've met a lot of people in the community from different cultures. I've learned a lot about the Vietnamese culture. I had no idea, the foods to eat, the dress, everything has just been so exciting. I'm excited for today to learn even more about other cultures. And I wanted to start with also saying, I think it's very important when we are talking about multicultural to understand what our differences are and to always be in communication. I really hate when things go behind people's back and you don't get the actual truth from the front. So I love that this event is happening. I love that we're gonna talk face to face. And I think maybe something relatable to all of you is if you think about your homes, your husbands, your spouse, your partners, your kids, you don't agree on everything. But you live together somehow, symbiotic in your home, mostly. And how do we move past that? Well, we communicate, and maybe we agree to disagree. And that's what I'm really hopeful that today brings about some solutions to those kinds of things. We don't have to agree, but it's nice to have that open line of communication. So without further ado, then, I would like to introduce Miss Janet Nguyen. She is our Orange County Supervisor. I'm very proud to have her back in our community representing us, and she's going to speak a few words to you.
Again, I'm Supervisor Janet Nguyen. I want to first thank the mayor and our chairwoman from the chamber, Debbie, as well. And want to thank Dr. Van Vu and Dave Garofalo for your brainchild. This is an event that we all talk about and think about, but never actually executed. And so we appreciate you not only thinking about it, but also bringing everyone together. And so I've been asked just to say a few words on, and kind of give you a little bit update on what we do at the county and what do I do. Most people wonder, like, what is a county supervisor? Yes, I do supervise counties and the county department, but overall, there's 5 county supervisors. Our budget that we will be passing next week is $10.5 billion, and that's 22 agencies. I not only cover those 22 agencies with the board. Hey, there's a check here. Wow. And so, but we also sit on different agencies, such as I'm a board member to AQMD, and I want to thank a lot of you here, especially the city of Fountain Valley, for coming together and having the discussion in regards to AQMD's recent ruling that would have banned all gas heaters and furnaces in Orange County and 3 other counties. So it would have affected 17 million people. And we came together. It's the first time in over 30 years that a ruling from AQMD was struck down by the board of directors at AQMD. It is unheard of. So we want to thank a lot of you who sent in letters of support, the city for standing with us, and the community. That in itself, this is how most of us don't realize how government touches us. Had that rule was passed, if you have a house that you have to change your heater, you would have to change it into electric heater, because we have now then essentially banned all gas heater. So electric heater and a gas heater, roughly a difference between probably $5,000 in cost. But the problem though, if you have an older home, you would have to rewire your entire house into being able to put in and install the electric heater. And wire your whole house, if your house is over 30 years old, you're talking about digging through and taking out rooms. And if you have an apartment complex, apartments wiring is not just straight up. It's around the house, up and down. So you're talking about essentially could be over $50,000 to $100,000 in cost for a homeowner. And a lot of these older homes are owned by our seniors who are on a fixed income. Spending $3,000, $4,000 to change your furnace from another gas because it's older, it's different than spending $50,000 to $100,000. And so this is people talk about it being, it's going to be the manufacturer. No, it ends up being the consumer who's going to end up paying for the cost and the construction of it. So that's one of the areas that we work on, and we worked on for months, and it went into fruition, and so we're very happy. Other boards that I sit on, Orange County Transportation Authority, which oversees everything and anything that has to do with transportation in Orange County, the Orange County Fire Authority, and you name it. And so our priority at the county right now is really trying to make sure that we put policy and procedures in place to making sure that no more corruptions will ever occur again in the county. And anybody and everybody will be held accountable. You're going to start seeing more and more. It's not just that one case. It's going to be taking every single individual who had a part of it to go with it. I'm not going to blink. I'm going to make sure we clean house. And I'm going to hold everybody accountable. If you've done something, might as well just come out and tell us. Because if not, I promise you, we will find it. We've got dozens and dozens of binders in my office that we've been looking through. Every contract at the county, every individual, every email. We will look and we will find it. It is not right for what you have done or these individuals during COVID, abusing the county and taking from the very people that need it the most. So we will hold people accountable. Our budget, as I mentioned, we are going to be voting on the budget. Some kind of a fun stats. I was at the Board of Supervisors 10 years ago. Our budget back then was $6.5 billion. We are going to vote on 10 years later an increase of our budget this coming Tuesday, $10.5 billion. The county's budget has increased $4 billion. That's incredible. So the question for us at the county is now we need to ask ourselves, are we delivering the services that are expected from the taxpayers? And if we're not, why? And we need to answer those questions because ultimately it's your money that are being sent to the county and the government. We need to make sure that we hold ourselves accountable and we make sure that every penny you give us are efficient and goes a long way. And so we will continue to fight for you at the county. I'm also thankful that your mayor, very persistent, arm wrestled me to get an extra 4 acres for the city of Fountain Valley at Mile Square Park. He won that arm wrestle, not literally, but you have a great leadership at the city of Fountain Valley who will not back down even if they were told no, who will be persistent and will continue to fight on behalf of the city and the residents. From your leadership, from your mayor, your council, your chiefs, your city manager, and the staff as well. Fountain Valley is known to be business friendly, and if there's concerns or issues, they're right there in the forefront of wanting to help. I haven't been a resident here at the city for many, many years. Look, even as a resident, they are there to assist the resident in making sure that it is easy and the process is available and fast for the residents as well. So if you can help me, give them a big round of applause. But again, I want to wrap it up is really appreciate what you're doing because I can remember when I was at the Board of Supervisors, when I said that back in 2000, I said, Fountain Valley is going to have almost a majority Asian Americans soon. People at the time told me that I was crazy. I suggested that redistricting should include Fountain Valley into the rest of the first supervisory district. People were not happy. And they didn't believe me that eventually the #1 language outside of English will be Vietnamese. That was in 2000 when I made those comments. And so what we're doing here today is embracing and being able to work together. And I really appreciate us bringing all of us together so that we can understand each other. Because at the end of the day is when we understand each other's culture, we can respect each other's culture, we can always have our differences of opinion. And that's okay. But as long as we understand it and know it, it's okay. And one of the things that I pride myself, over 20 years ago, when I became a county supervisor, most folks in here don't know, I didn't speak Vietnamese fluently. I was from the outside. I had to learn the language. I had to learn the culture. Now I do speak and write and read and write Vietnamese fluently. But I learned it is because I learned to embrace the culture and to understand the culture. I didn't grow up in Orange County. I grew up when there's only 2 winds and everybody thought we were cousins. If that's the case, half of this room is my cousins. But that's where is when we start learning each other's cultures, we can respect it, and then we can also have our differences of opinion. And that's what makes the community a great community. And so really appreciate what you're doing, really appreciate bringing everybody together. And we as the county will be doing a lot of fun stuff this coming year. One of the biggest events we're working on is going to be a 3-day event. at the county side, the Mile Square Park, from August 15th to August 17th, is we're going to be celebrating 50 years of honoring the past, celebrating the present, and embracing the future of the Vietnamese American journey in Orange County and across America. And so we're going to be bringing in everybody and anybody you know all across America that has contributed to America, that have came from Vietnam. We all have very similar stories, but it's time for us to come together and have fun and really honoring the past, celebrating today, the successes today, and embracing and empowering the future generation. Again, thank you for having me.
She wanted to let you know that she's the Janet Nguyen of the OC supervisors.
Well, because if anything's good, it's the Janet Nguyen. Anything's bad is the other Nguyen or the other Janet.
It sounds to me like that's a win-win proposition.
Just full of jokes today, just full of jokes.
Well, while we wait for Dave Garofalo to come up to tell you, everyone out in the audience, that you have some homework to do, you didn't come here to have a great lunch on the city of Fountain Valley without doing some work. So there is some work that has to be done. But before we do that, nothing happens in absence of all the supporters of everybody. So I'd like to just thank you, to say some thanks to our sponsors. One, Hyundai Motors, California Paint Center, Lara Sinanian, UCI Fountain Valley Med, Mimi's Jewelry, Dr. Kumo, Shop Off, Huntington Beach Boulevard of Cars, Istanbul Grill, which you will be enjoying some Turkish coffee and dessert after today. You enjoyed some tea and some coffee this morning. That's provided by Phuc Long Coffee and Tea. Amanda Lamb, an Arab American Chamber of Commerce. One other thing is that nothing can happen without a big team that we have at our chamber. If you are part of our chamber directors right now, please stand up and be recognized. I want to thank you for all the work that you've done. All right. How do we improve and have more businesses within the community, which is multicultural and multi-chamber in fashion there? With that in mind, I'd like to have lots of participation from the floor. David and I will be on-off, getting into the floor and asking for the questions as well. But first of all, let's have introductions. You have a microphone?
Well, welcome everyone to this event. It's so important. But I'm going to kick off a little bit off topic a little bit real quick. I want to share something that some of you may know, some of you may not know. So neighboring city, years ago, in particularly in the minority business owners, had a challenge. And one of those main challenges were business extortion. And that was hurting those business, particularly those who are aware of the situation was the Vietnamese business owners. And they were afraid to step forward and make the report because they're afraid of repercussions or revenge or whatnot. But the leaderships of that city pressed them to move forward because obviously the law enforcement can't do anything until they press charge. And Fountain Valley, I haven't seen any such problem because we have a wonderful Fountain Valley Police Department. And just want to make sure that for those who are business, if you're experiencing any of that, please inform law enforcement so they can help you. And I want to thank you, our Police Chief, Rob Cox, and if you would like to say a few words for that.
So before I came here, I worked for the city of Cypress, 30 years there, police chief for 5. And we encountered a little bit of what the mayor's talking about there as well. We had a moderately large Korean population and a casino in town, or horse racing track, I should say, and a casino right next door in Hawaiian Gardens. A large number of follow-home robberies, things like that. And some of the community would not report that to the police department or were fearful to do that. But I want to let you know and assure you as a community that having come from the Cypress Police Department now at the Fountain Valley, I've found that we've got, first and foremost, a diverse police department with a large number of Asian male and female officers that work for us. They understand the challenges that the community has. They're open to helping any way they possibly can, and there'd be no reason, I hope you spread this message amongst the community, there'd be no reason to be fearful of contacting the police or reporting crimes that happen to them. We are constantly undergoing training to ensure that our officers understand the community problems and respond appropriately. We also don't participate in any immigration enforcement. However, we do follow California law as it relates to assisting local agencies with crimes that are occurring. So anything we can do to help, please reach out. Great group of men and women that work for the Fountain Valley Police Department. Gigantic support from our mayor and city council. Just a great community to live in. And please call the police department if something happens. We're more than happy to come out and help you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's honestly an honor and a privilege to be part of this panel. My name is Farah Kanchar, and I'm the president and founder of the Arab American Business Chamber. We're turning 1 year old in August. I can't believe it. Thank you. Also want to give a shout out to my co-founder right over there, Lara Sinanian. Thank you so much.
I got to give it up to her. She was just telling me her story. Full-time doctorate student, and decides that needs weren't being met and started her own Chamber of Commerce. Absolutely unbelievable. Thanks for sharing your story. My name is Rob Frizzell, and I have the best job in Orange County. I'm the Parks and Community Services Director for the City of Fountain Valley, right here, right across the street from Fountain Valley Sports Park, Miles Square Regional Park. Proud to be on the Board of Directors for the Chamber of Commerce and the Fountain Valley Community Foundation. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Doresi Down. I'm the Government Affairs Director for the Southwest Riverside County Association of Realtors. And I've been in the real estate industry for nearly 20 years and having to be grown up here and now navigating outside Orange County.
Hello, my name is Tim Wing. I'm the chair for Vietnamese American Chamber of Commerce. We are turning 40 years this year. So we are the oldest and largest chamber. I'm happy to help and be a part of this.
Thank you, panels. It's great for all of you to take time out to be here. I've experienced extortion, but it just happens at home with my wife and kids. Can't do anything about it though, but I'll try to call the chief next time it happens.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only in the city of Fountain Valley, Mr. David Trong, owner of Mimi's Jewelry.
Thanks, Doc. Okay, so first question. What are some barriers in a multicultural business? What can we do to overcome? Doresi, can you take that one for me?
Yes, okay, we're so lucky to be in Fountain Valley. We have such a diverse community. We have all types of food to visit, to support local businesses, especially minority-owned businesses. For example, we have the owner of Glee Donuts here, which I'm going to go get a donut after this.
Rob?
Thank you. Yeah, we love to try to provide an opportunity for the community to meet our residents where they're at. Fountain Valley doesn't have a traditional downtown. So we're really proud that the Fountain Valley Sports Park really is that meeting place. So we want to give our businesses, whether you want to be a title sponsor of Summerfest this weekend or come out and pass out gift cards or meet and greet at any price point. And what we've really found is when the community supports the residents, then the residents will come back and support the community. Really the way it works with our special events, if anybody joins us at Summerfest this week, all the money that we get from the businesses just goes to amplify that event that we're doing. Specifically, like Hyundai is doing the fireworks show Friday night at 9 p.m., so if anybody's going to join us. But we also want to just make sure that people feel that they're the intended audience when they come to something. So at our opening ceremonies on Friday night at 8 p.m., shameless plug, we're kicking it off with our traditional dragon dance. It's a half-an-hour show right before the mayor and council introduces Miss Fountain Valley to sing the national anthem, and then Hyundai donates a fireworks show. We want to make sure everybody feels supported and that they're the attended audience.
Thanks, Rob. But you've highlighted a lot of amazing things in Fountain Valley, and my business has been here for almost 30 years. We live here. All my kids have been to school through the school district. But can you touch off some of the barriers that you've seen in a cultural business? What are some of the barriers you've seen? We know that the city works very well with the businesses, but what are some of those barriers you've experienced or have seen?
Well, what we see a lot is with our nonprofit groups, trying to make sure that they feel like they're part, and whether it's going to be a board or a volunteer, getting those businesses connected, right, and making it feel like a place that they're part of and that they can come and be supportive, and then they can then support back to the community. But just making sure that people feel comfortable when they come to that location, the event, the program. We talk about a lot with the new universal accessible playground we built. When people play, recreate, and do business together, they realize that they have the same vision and the goals, and they all want the same things. And when we really see play as that common bond. When you see that you get the same enjoyment out of what you're doing in life, whether it's business or sports or social or whatever it is, you realize that you're all the same and you want the same outcomes: respect, dignity, and love. So we try to provide that opportunity through our community services department.
How about some people from the audience? You've all opened businesses and so forth. What barriers do you think that you can, as you expand your businesses out into other communities and other cultures and so forth, what are some of the barriers there, and how did you overcome some of that? Just raise your hands if you have some comment about that.
So I don't look that old, just like our panelist, Dawn. You must have started when you were 10. I take care of our elders in the community, and they have a lot of post-war issues. I think growing up as a refugee immigrant in a non-Vietnamese environment, I grew up in Virginia, so to Janet Nguyen's point. The hardest thing is to demystify prejudices, and we can talk about racism, classism, socioeconomic prejudices, and I think that's being human. And to Rob's point, the only way we can deconstruct those prejudices is to interact and to find commonalities. And to your point, gaming, playing, eating, we're all Asians. Food is a love language in the Asian culture. So I'm thrilled that Americans now know what pho and banh mi are, but we're so much more than that. And so when we have opportunities like Summerfest, I too am raising a child in the Fountain Valley School District. It's an amazing place to live. Unfortunately, 99% of his friends are Viet. And I, unfortunately, am seeing his reverse racism, that he doesn't like other cultures. And that breaks my heart. So the important thing is exposure. We have to interact. And I really congratulate the two chambers or the multiple chambers of commerce for having such a forum. I just wish there were more people here. So you have a lot of work to do, Ed.
Thank you. You spoke of a very interesting phenomenon of reverse racism, or whether we call that. But I spoke to a lot of the American communities who said, you know what, I'd love to try out some Vietnamese food. I just don't know which restaurants to go to, and they don't have the menus in the English language, and the waiters aren't speaking English, and they feel a little bit intimidated and so forth. So I wondered, amongst our audience here, what can we do to welcome the larger community to share in all the great foods and all the flavors that particularly Vietnam has to offer? Because I'd love to take every single one of you guys out for a lunch and something like to show you what all we have. Do we have any comments about that? How do we balance that out, everybody?
So I always say that, two ways people connect is over food and language. And we see it all the time. As a new Chamber of Commerce, especially serving the Arab population, there hasn't been an Arab Chamber of Commerce, at least not here at the local level, in forever. So reconnecting with the Arab business community and also, the non-Arab business community, because the way we see it is we're all living in the same community. So we have to come together, Arab, non-Arab, it doesn't matter. We're minorities, we're citizens, we're living in the same area. So we have to support one another and build those bridges. But one thing everyone always says when they come to our events is, oh my God, your guys' food is amazing. But I think it's a good thing because we want to bring events that are, yes, informative. We bring resources, all that good stuff, which our other, community partners and local chambers are already doing, but also to bring a cultural component to it, whether it is, food, languages, historical facts. I think it's so important because when you're educated on other, cultures, you become more aware, and that reduces, stereotypes, racism, etc. when you educate yourself and educate your community.
I wanted to add the next question that we have here, which is quite important, and I'm gonna start with Tim first, and I'm gonna follow up with the city people. What role do you think that the Chamber of Commerce, and for that matter, local governments, can do to improve and to help multiple businesses, and particularly in the community of minorities?
I think the role should be the voice for our small businesses and advocates for what's good for community, and always put our members, our people, our community first. Because I see that a lot of people get mixed up and get overwhelmed, and they put themselves ahead of the bigger picture. And I think that should not be it. As Vietnamese, we grow up, I don't know if you've been to Vietnam, when you go to one shop, you want to buy something, they don't have it, that shop owner run to the next shop and get something and come back and sell because they help each other. They see each other not competing with each other, but they're helping each other. And I see that's how it should be. Because most business now, by default, you think you can compete. But that's when it should not be it. Because people buy your products, be a part of your products because of you, not what you have to give. And you're not to compete. Because when you compete on pricing, you're hurting everyone else.
Tim, you're absolutely right. When you go to Vietnam and you go to a restaurant, multiple restaurants, you can order from this restaurant and sit over there and they'll bring it back and so forth. And eventually everyone wins. But with that background in mind, what about the cities? Ted, what do you think the city and the local government can do to help that? And then Rob next.
That's a great question. Well, I believe that creating an inclusive policies and programs is going to play a critical role in shaping, the diversity cultural business. Having said that, being on the city council, at least this is going to be my 5th year, the community, particularly diversity community business, need to engage more. Once the city has certain agenda items that is put forth, we want to hear from the community. We, as an elected official, we can put out policy, but if your engagement is not there, the way that the body of council, well, it's a great idea, but there's not enough support. Therefore, the items get shut down. It doesn't move forward. And that's a detriment lost to the community who are trying to survive in this economic, which is very challenging. Each one of you, I understand your challenge every couple of weeks. You want to make sure your revenue is there to make paycheck to pay to your staff. And it's very challenging by the days, not only by the economic environment, but also by regulations that tighten your industry. I give an example. Those who are in the restaurant industry, what are the challenges you have to go through? The costs, the employee costs. Now you lose your employee because you couldn't afford paying the hourly wage that other big corporation can. So that's a challenge in itself. So I strongly that you get engaged, pay attention a little bit more on the city agenda items. How's that is going to help your business? And that is a very strong, important point that I want to say because, like I said, I have not seen that community come out when there's an important topic for discussions. So your support do matter to shape the city policy.
I mean, Mayor and Rob, so we were speaking about multiple places to go eat that we share in the community, and that way it diffuses the fact that you're not feeling that you belong and you can eat at other restaurants and so forth. Is there a possibility that we can have a food court, a food kiosk area, where I know that in Singapore they have food hawkers there.
Hawker
in the
stalls.
area. Right?
Yeah, the hawker stalls.
Yeah. Is that a possibility within the city?
I think the gentleman with that answer is probably sitting right there. He had his head down.
Omar, you can take it right now, Omar. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Can you describe what you mean by the food hawkers, or what would we be
So
talking
it's
about?
like a multicultural food court, right?
Yeah, we've been pushing for. So when I was in Stanton, we helped create Rodeo 39, and it's been something I've been trying to start here as well. We're just trying to find the right location for that.
Old Rite Aid.
That's a possibility. Yeah, we'll look into that.
So I'd like to bring this up to Dorisi again. In our multicultural community, how can we help each other to expand business? So just think of this as the rising tide, right? Lifts all boats. How can we help each other out?
Well, let's see. After COVID, in a post-COVID world, we're all about technology, social media. Every business struggle with branding, and the way to influence your circle of influence is to, one, do good reviews, like and share their posts. Also, take your friends there to visit. For example, like they had mentioned restaurants being intimidated of not knowing what to order because of the sign or the waiters not knowing how to speak English. So every time I take my clients or my colleagues to lunch, we try somewhere new. And obviously, like if we go to an Asian restaurant, I'm the first one to either be the one cooking at Korean barbecue or the one that's like helping them order. And we have so many local businesses here. Like in this very shopping center, we have Brodard, who's famously known for their spring rolls. And we also have Hue'oi, who's also a chamber member as well. So it's important to support our local businesses and keep them in mind. Also with social media, like I said, if you share, even if you comment, whether it's an emoji or like a comment, pictures of your food, that's also a love language. I totally agree that food is my love language.
You know, from the audience here, I have Ann Doe, who's a staff writer for the OC Register, and I know Ann is, I've known Ann for almost 30 years, and she's been very active in the community. From your perspective, you've covered so much from other countries and other areas. Would you give us a comment?
Sure, thank you, Van. In my coverage, I go to all kinds of cultural communities across Southern California, and what I see that works for them are the walking tours. They open up the neighborhoods, they get multiple generations involved, recruit high school students, college students, and plan a day where they go to a specific center or plaza in a city and break open the doors and the welcome, and everyone has a special dish or a special speech, a kind of cultural window into how they got started, that kind of thing. They do that at a time when it's not crowded, not in the summer months because everyone's traveling, but more often in the fall. I also see website representation where they feature stories or profiles of business owners or restaurants or different staff members, what they do in their cities and how effective they have been and what are the best practices. I also see live events in terms of at every council meeting, they have a spotlight on a local business or on someone who has made it, and they'll say, this is how I did it. So that type of feature, I think you have to really drill down and get personal in order to promote unity.
Yeah, I think if you want to expose people to Vietnamese restaurants or different, I don't know if you guys been to like LA or OC Restaurant Week. If you did one for like a cultural restaurant week and the chamber can get all the restaurants together and give specials and really promote it, I think that will work, you know.
Wait, Tom, don't give it back. No, real quick. You know, as a business owner, right, and multi-businesses, the topic is easy when we talk about food, right, because it's a low-hanging fruit. But what about other businesses? How can we support each other? Other cultural businesses, right? So I'd like to see what you think about that. You know, whether it's a tennis racket shop or a shoe store or whatever, but it's not Vietnamese or it's not Hispanic or it's not American, right? How do you walk through the door of a culturally owned business that you've never had experience with and feel comfortable? Right? That's kind of a tricky question, I know.
First, I think events like this definitely
Absolutely.
help. You know, this brings businesses together of all different cultures. One thing I think that brings together multiple cultures just kind of naturally is sports, right? So we own Los Cab, and pickleball is like one of the most diverse sports there is, and it brings together a lot of different people. So if we can have like maybe an event that's sports related, it really brings together a lot of people.
I'd like to put on my UCI Anteater alumni hat. Thank you, Bawan. She always has great ideas. The idea of a walking tour, I don't know if you all know, but UCI has this amazing thing called the Southeast Asian Archives, and one of the people who was essential in bringing it up to fore is brilliant Professor Thuy Vo Dang, and she and a couple other colleagues, including my dear friend Jam Lê, wrote a book called The People's Guide to Orange County. And so in that book, they kind of have a verbal walking tour through different parts of Orange County, and it was published several years ago, so we don't have Arab Americans. I would say partner with your academic institutions, whether it's the local community colleges or UCI Zat, and host these walking tours so people can get to know. I mean, it's great to have discounts and coupons, but people just use it and they don't understand the backstory. So to Ando's point, when you actually learn the backstory, and that's the sales point, but for me, I never worry about the economics because when you get down to the heart of it, that's where the sell is. And when you know the backstory of how Brodard started and how hard she works and how her 3 daughters run 3 amazing restaurants, then you're like, I want to support them. There's such an empire now, so I kind of go to the smaller businesses, but those backstories matter. And I think if the Chamber of Commerce were going to do a walking tour.
Anne, you have a comment?
Yeah. So some time ago, I don't know, a lot of you know Lynn Seaton and I had started the Fountain Valley Cash Mob. We restarted it during COVID. And one of the things that we did there is we would have groups of people go to different businesses and everyone kind of maybe bring $20. We would then interview the shop owners or employees so that way we're Facebook Live. People can see it from the comfort of their home, whether they're at the location, but people would just flock to the business that time because there's, you know, multiple cultures, there's people to explain what the business is, and it's a good support to introduce those businesses. That is something I would definitely be interested in starting again and forming a committee of people who could host the cash mobs, go to those, invite and set dates, and then do interviews with the shop owners. It could be restaurants, you know, jewelry stores, any of the businesses. And because the chamber has people who speak multiple languages, having a specific person and host to help that gap would definitely be a way to introduce businesses who might be afraid to, you know, use social media or any other forms of communication or marketing to promote their businesses. So I'm interested in talking about that. Yeah.
Great, thank you. With the Fountain Valley Chamber of Commerce, if you have interesting ideas like that or willing to help partner with us in doing that, please contact any one of us, and so that we can start some of those projects. I wanted to come back to Ted and ask Ted about some of the smaller businesses wants to get started at Fountain Valley, and there are some barriers that do that. And I know the city, you have certain programs from a permitting standpoint to starting off standpoint that and I've seen you've helped. Could you expand on that and let the audience know?
Okay, so I'm going to go back to the same question, and how can we expand on it? For example, how can we help each other? So the most important part, I think, that to make any change, you must listen to your customer with curiosity and with an open mind. Take any criticism, any criticism as a constructive criticism. Don't take it personal. If you take it personal, then I think you're not on the right path of solving the problem. If that person is concerned, obviously someone else may have the same concern. So you got to take it as with an open mind. By finding your time to learn about someone's culture, beliefs, or tradition without trying to compare or criticize. By doing so, you will build a bridge of understanding and respect. I'm talking about not the customer itself, but you as a business owner itself. Understand your customer to improve your business. That's how you do it. And then you go to other business owners, see what are their challenges, understand their challenges, and learn from that and apply to your business. Now, in terms of celebrating diversity through our shared experience, hosting community events like international potlucks, cultural affairs, or story night gives people a chance to share their heritage and see the beauty of others' backgrounds and apply that in your business. I think you take that roadmap to improve your business and not be afraid to open up, because most people are afraid to open up. I'm comfortable. I'm not willing to go there. Don't be afraid. Have an open mind and think of the success. That's more important than be afraid. Thank you.
The other question that I had was, I know the city of Fountain Valley has helped small businesses such as small restaurants and getting over some of the CGPs.
Yes. So there was a discussions, how can we improve business? Because through the vision of this council is we want to have a business-friendly environment. So how do we execute? So we go look at some of the requirement. For example, I'm going to top on one business because that is the most recent one. So in the past, for any business owner that comes into family, whether you want to open a restaurant, in other words, if you're categorized under the food category, you are required to get a CUP regardless. And the CUP will cost a small business owner in the range between $30,000 to $40,000. I said, wow, how is it so much? Because the applications with all the fee in the process average about 6 months. It could be longer because sometimes it's whoever you hire, the engineer or the architect to submit the application, it could take up to 6 months. Well, guess what? You're lucky if you have more than 2 months of tenant improvement. After that, you still have to pay for the rent, and you're not even open door yet. So I think the average came out between $30,000 to $40,000 of savings. So the city have changed its policy. Now when you open any foodie that's under 50 seating, no CUP is required. That's a big plus savings. In addition to that, if you have a certain foodie that requires an alcohol license, for example, beers and wine, it's no longer required. The city will give you by rights. That's huge. However, you still have to apply to ABC. But if you apply to ABC, if you do the process correctly, concurrent with filing with the city, you should have the ABC license within a month to 2 months. I spoke to the ABC, that's what they said. So that's great.
Thank you, Mayor. The next question I'm going to ask real quick, I'm going to have Glenn address that. So David, if you can give Glenn the microphone. Actually, I wanted to ask you another perspective from a council person and, of course, a Caucasian American about the culture that you're experiencing in our city here, and it probably represents amongst other cities as well too. How can we help the small businesses thrive and survive in this multicultural area?
Well, I think if you have a strong community, you end up with a strong business community as well. Last year as mayor, one of the things that I tried to do was make sure that we've made sure that everybody felt welcome, included, and safe in our city. I said that at every event that I attended. And it wasn't just words. So at Summerfest last year, on the Sunday, we did a cultural day. And it was all day, and we brought in the mostly Vietnamese acts into the last day of Summerfest. So we were able to get the community to come in, feel welcomed where they were in terms of the entertainment. But then what we saw is afterwards, they went and enjoyed the rest of Summerfest with everybody. The other thing is making people feel welcome. One of the things that I implemented a few years ago was during the Lunar New Year, wearing aoyes during the city council meetings. It's a small sign of respect that we're showing our community that we respect your culture, we respect you, and we want you to be part of the community. I've been a longtime member of the community. I've lived in Fountain Valley for 45 years now. When I went to high school at Fountain Valley, the Vietnamese community, it wasn't a big percentage like it is now. And to me, it's a matter of making sure, again, that we recognize that and we put forth policies that make sure everybody feels included. And that's one of the keys that we need to work on, is we can't just say the Vietnamese community is welcome in our city. Everybody has to feel welcome. It's Pride Month. The LGBTQ community needs to feel welcome in our community. It can't be that we cherry pick certain minorities. I want everybody to feel welcomed. You know, when I was in high school, you talk about, hey, I got one, and I haven't used all 12 minutes. I'm Jewish, and when I was in high school, there was anti-Semitism. I received a letter in the mail that said, kill Jews, anonymously. So I feel like I do have an understanding of what it feels like not to necessarily 100% belong in the community. And that's why I have always made it a very top priority, and I know Mayor Bowie feels the same way, is we want everybody to feel included. So.
And along those lines, I'm waiting to start the Italian-American Chamber of Commerce. So before we conclude, I want to give Farah and Tim a minute. What one thought would you like to share as we're closing up, please?
Oh, there we are. Okay, one closing thought, and I think this is, the most important, is city chambers of commerce, the city and multicultural chambers, what do they all have in common? We're all trying to help small businesses. So we need to talk, we need to communicate, we need to work together to serve our small business community. Thank you.
I want to share the Vietnamese proverbs. It's called đời cha ăn mặn, đời con khát nước, meaning that the life of the father, if you eat salty food, your child become thirsty. Meaning that what you do today will impact the future generation and who you are and what you do for your business. And I share this because yesterday I met with Dr. Wong at his office at the painting center. And then, but because we just not to meet there, but we went to Glee Donut. Because what he does is helping, other businesses, they don't relate, but they're helping the neighbor. They become a family. And that's how you help each other business grow. without competing. And that's at least I want to share that.
Thank you so much. So, before we really show the panel how happy we are, just, there are complicated issues and simple issues. And I think David Tron brought up the food that, food is simple. If you want to solve the problems in the world, sit down and eat together and have a conversation. I have driven up and down Brookhurst so many times. I have actually stopped and walked in non-Caucasian stores just to see what was going on. And I found something really simple. And I put 2 words up here, barbershop and shoe repair. I don't know how to do brain surgery. I can't stop the war in Iran. But I know that if I was a barber and I was Asian American, I'd want to put a sign like that on my business in both languages so everybody knows what I am, whether it's a shoe store or a barbershop. And that's a simple, but we have to take baby steps. And I really hope that one of the results of today is that you all leave and go to your homes and your businesses and your chambers, and you start a conversation. So I grew up a long time ago. I mean, I'm 80 years old, and 70 years ago, I can remember growing up in a community where you were either Italian or Irish or Jewish. Those were the 3 people we had. And we were all hyphenated. We were all Italian Americans, Irish Americans. And until 25, 30, 40 years went by, I remember in my family when the first Italian person married an Irish person, that was incredibly horrific. And it took 30, 40 years of intermarriage and communication and getting along that we all became one community eventually. We need to do that faster and quicker in places like Fountain Valley. So please thank this panel of people that have really prepared hard to.
I want to add one point on the food, and I challenge all of you, because the first time when I came to this country and I tried Taco Bell, and my first expression, oh my God, it tastes like pet food. That was my first impressions, when I tried that food. So the I'm going to try and say is, when you try a different food from a different culture, try at least 3 times. After my 3rd time, I said, wow, it's not as bad. But now I love taco. So there's a change. I say, try the first time because it's a new taste bud for those who haven't tried that culture food. So it might be like a first instant your body is going to reject it. Try at least 3 times. For example, I'm going to share another story. My brother-in-law, first time he tried durian. First expression.
Try durian. Raise your hands.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Get out of here,
He spit it out. He said, "Oh my goodness, what is this? You try and feed me here." But after the 3rd time, he goes, "Well, you know what? It's not that bad after all." So try at least 3 times. I challenge you. Thank you.
My business has been in here for 30 years, and we were one of the very first Vietnamese American businesses in Fountain Valley. Back then, the demographics was different than what it was then. But one thing, I have to tell you how magical Fountain Valley is. There were probably 15 other shops like ours. Right now, there's 3. The community got behind us, regardless of what we look like, what we spoke, what we ate, the community. And that's magical about this community. Secondly, it just didn't happen because we opened shop. It wasn't like Kevin Costner, if you build it, they will come. Businesses have to get uncomfortable, get out there like you all are doing, join the Chamber of Commerce, join other networking opportunities, expose yourself. Anyways, thank you all for being here with us. You guys have been amazing. Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Dave.
One more time, we want to thank one of our bigger sponsors who provided all the gifts for the panel, Dr. Kumo right here. His name is Stephen Fung, but the company's name is Dr. Kumo. And again, thank you everybody in the crowd. You guys participated and we thoroughly enjoyed it. Fountain Valley Chamber of Commerce is going to have more of these events, so please visit our website and come to all of our events. Thank you again and have a great the rest of your day.